The title of this particular class is How Realtors Can Use Employer Assisted Housing to Build Business, Serve Communities, and open new doors to home ownership. So here we go. Thank you, here we are. Housing at work, and you might have to go to the next one. Yep. Today, by the end of this session, you will walk away with a clear, actionable foundation for integrating employee assisted housing into your real estate practice. Next slide. I want to talk about why this room is important. Realtors bring something to the employee assisted housing conversation that nobody else in our industry can replicate. Our history, our relationships, our mission are uniquely positioned to move this work forward. One, because of our stance in democracy and housing. NAREB's founding mission is equal access to home ownership, and employer-assisted housing is a model tool to fulfill that promise. Also, community trust. Our community trusts us with their real estate needs. Realtors are already embedded in the communities where other real estate practitioners are not. And so communities are where these employees live, work, and also worship. We are also missioned with closing the gap. That's the wealth gap as well as home ownership gap. Home ownership disparities persist. Employee assisted housing creates structured, employer-backed pathways to help close this gap. And practical advocacy. That is what we do best, right? This advocacy in action, turning policy values into real transactions, real wealth building, and real solution-based ideas. Next slide for me. Here's a brief look at our agenda. Here's what we will cover today in today's session to talk about number one, what employer assisted housing is and what it is not. Why employers care about this particular model. There are some examples also in California that I pulled that we'll talk about. These are real programs already working in your market. A business development model. We'll talk about 6 pathways to build your employee assisted housing practice. I'll go over some case studies that have worked for me personally here in the Atlanta and DeKalb County area. Lessons that you can apply immediately to your area. And then we'll go over quickly a starter framework. We'll talk about some scripts, entry points, and what your first actionable steps will be. Today we're going to leave with an action plan. So I am excited and I hope you are too. Tom, next slide. What is employer assisted housing? And my best way to tell what employee assisted housing is workplace-based housing strategy, where employers partner with housing professionals to help employees access the education, resources, financial assistance, and expert guidance that need to achieve rental stability as well as home ownership. What I also know is that employer-assisted housing is not a one-size-fits-all. It comes in, you can really customize different programs and different strategies for each individual employer. EAH bridges the gaps between the workplace and the housing market, meeting employees where they already are in a trusted environment during a moment of financial readiness. Next slide. Now, what employee assisted housing is not, and clarity does matter. When you introduce employee assisted housing to employees, HR teams, or employees, it is just as important to set accurate expectations as it is to inspire excitement. Here is what employee assisted housing does not include. One, it doesn't include a guaranteed approval. Employee assistance housing does not guarantee mortgage approval, loan qualifications, or housing placement. What it does is it opens doors. It does not bypass underwriting. It is also not an employee pressure. Participants must always be volunteers. Employers cannot pressure or incentivize employees to work with a specific agent or lender. It is not a fair housing shortcut. Employee-assisted housing programs must fully comply with fair housing laws. No preferences, exclusions, or steering based on protected characteristics. Ever. And it is not an exclusive pipeline. Without proper compliance guardrails, one agent exclusive arrangement creates liability. So your structure matters. Protect yourself as well as the employers that you work with. Next slide. Here are the benefits of using an employee assistance housing program. They're flexible and modular. Employees choose the components that fit their workforce, budgets, and goals. Realtors can help empower employers build a menu that generally moves employees towards home ownership. And there are several ways that you can do this. Home buyer education, credit readiness, down payment assistance navigation, closing cost help, match savings. I'll say one of the lowest entry rates in doing an employee assisted housing, maybe lunch and learn or initiative, is getting yourself a partner. And I partner with particular lenders as well as NID HUD counselors. So those are the two main partners that I have. Anytime I go into an employer's office or HR department, I'm always taking my preferred lender, most of all, housing counselor, because everybody is not going to be ready at the same time. Everybody's going to have different needs. So you want to create an ecosystem to where you are the real estate professional, you have a lender or your financial person there to talk about lending and down payment assistance programs, grants that are available, maybe near the employer's office that the employees will qualify for. And then those that are not ready or need pre or post closing, you have your NID counselors there on site with you as well that will help you create a pipeline. Next slide. So here's one of the reasons why this is a foolproof system and why employers care. Housing is not just a personal problem. It is a business performance issue. When employees cannot afford to live near where they work, the impact is a ripple effect throughout the organization. It helps with recruitment. It helps with retention. It helps with absenteeism. It helps with productivity and also community stability. If you know, here in Atlanta, what got me interested in employee assisted housing was my kids are all grown now, but there was a teacher in our community. I live in the East Lake community, if anybody is familiar with Atlanta, but I live maybe 5 or 10 minutes from the local high school here in my area. And I was talking to one of the teachers from a community event that we were doing, and she was telling me that she lives in Lilburn. And let me just give you an idea of how far East Lake is from Lilburn. It is probably about 45 minutes to an hour in the morning and 45 minutes to an hour, maybe even 90 minutes going home. And she was commuting every day for 7 years from Lilburn to East Lake just to teach. So imagine, and we were able to get her home about 7 or 8 minutes from the school with the employee assisted housing initiative that we did at Drew Charter. So she was grateful. But I can imagine being in the car going to work, an hour to get to work. Then I'm educating our next future leaders and our future generation, and then taking an hour and a half to get home. I don't want to talk to nobody after that. So, but that is one of the reasons why employees care about it, because they can use it as recruitment. They also can use it as retention mechanisms to help keep employees there. Next slide. So something close to you all, why California is a prime market for the employer assisted housing programming. California is one of the most compelling EAH markets in the nation. The conditions that make home ownership difficult are the same conditions that make employers highly motivated to act. Extreme housing costs, long costly commutes, large institutional employers, and existing workforce resources. Next slide. Here are some of the areas and companies that are maybe close and personal to you all that you all may know that already have employee assisted housing programs already working within their company. San Mateo County, EDPA, in the Employer Down Payment Assistance Program. They provide forgivable deferred loans to help county employees purchase homes in or near their area. UC System, Employee Assisted Housing, that's the University of California. They offer faculty and staff housing loans, down payment programs, and relocation assistance to throughout multiple campuses. Santa Clara County empowers home buyers, a county-backed program supporting employees and first-time buyers with down payment assistance tied to workforce eligibility criteria. Just out of show of hands, virtual hands, have any of you heard of any of these programs before with these employers? Okay, Carl has. Anyone else? And Veronica, great. Next slide. Let's talk about the business opportunity. Employee assistance housing is not about finding one buyer at a time. It is about positioning yourself at the center of a structured, repeatable pipeline that connects you to groups of qualified, motivated buyers. Sometimes they're not qualified, though. You have to get them to that point, and that's where your housing counselor comes in with budgeting and credit readiness and home buyer readiness as well. But those are people that you can put in your pipeline before they even start searching online. So employees, dozens to thousands potential buyers pre-qualified by employment stability. One of the things that I also like about employee assisted housing programs is they meet at least one of the criteria to even try to get pre-approved for a loan. We know that they have employment. They are employed because we're working directly through their employer. HR departments, those are the decision makers who can control access to benefit programs and employee communications. I mentioned earlier, this is not a one size fits all. One of the things that we do on a regular basis is just one of the initiatives that we can use with an employee assisted housing program. But you can take an employee assisted housing program so far as to even create a benefit to where employers can actually implement it as a benefit, just like health insurance. I know Delta here, I'm working with Delta. We've been working together for about a year. They do Delta Perks. So we're trying to come up with a program that will help some of their employees with housing benefits. Public agencies, cities, counties, and transit agencies with mission aligned and benefit budgets. Now, I like public agencies and the municipalities because those have been the easiest sales for me, because they are very concerned about their county employees, and there's usually also down payment assistance already available for certain cities and counties that can apply to properties near their workplace. Hospitals and health systems are also great clients. Large healthcare employees facing severe housing-driven recruitment challenges. School systems, I talked a little bit earlier about school systems. School systems is another one that I like. Districts struggle to recruit and retain teachers due to the high cost of commuting. Just out of me doing this work, when employees have to travel far to get to work, they usually have to, most of their income usually goes into their transportation issues. They usually have to pay more in transportation because they need stable transportation to get back and forth to work. So that leaves little to nothing for housing expenses. Next slide. Here is what, this is an example of what an employee assisted housing ecosystem can look like. So you have your employee, who is the home buyer. First is your employer and the HR. We'll start with the realtors and the employee and the HR. Normally you want an end to that employer, and it's usually through the HR departments. I've been very fortunate with the municipalities that I have gone through. There is always either a chief of staff or someone working on housing issues for the people that live in the counties and the cities. So I've been able to talk to those professionals to get in and talk about the benefits of having an employee assisted housing program or some type of workforce housing. But you typically have your employee, which is your home buyer. Again, I talked about your lender as one of your partners, your housing counselor. But you also, if your housing counselor and lenders don't have DPA, I know here in Atlanta, we do have other entities that provide down payment assistance programs. So sometimes when I do lunch and learns at these offices, I do bring in Invest Atlanta is one here in Atlanta, and also our housing authority, Atlanta Housing Authority, also has a home buyer down payment assistance grant that works very well with our city of Atlanta municipalities because it is stackable down payment assistance, and they can stack funds to get more down payment assistance resources. Nonprofit partners, your housing counselors and other partners that are in the real estate industry space. Builders and developers. I'll tell you how I utilize the builder and the developer with the same teacher that I talked about. So there was a new construction. We got her a home in the new construction community very near to her, to the school that she taught. But we started out as a lease purchase. She did not qualify to purchase it in the time frame that we gave her. So we went to the builder and actually had a nonprofit partner of ours purchase at a discounted rate. They allowed her to rent for 18 months. Her original lease agreement was for 12 months, and then she was supposed to purchase, but we needed to do a little bit more work for her credit. So it took her about 18 months. But that same nonprofit gave her $100,000 in down payment assistance so that she was able to buy that home from them. So that is how builders and developers can be advocates for you as well as your brokerage support. Next slide. A little bit about what we have done in City of Atlanta, and this is a case study that I personally work in. Every day we just hosted our second annual employer VIP home buyer workshop here for the city of Atlanta, and we started last year. We advocated for our city mayor and did some advocacy work for him, as well as some things on the campaign. So we already had kind of an end to what some of his goals were for his administration and his tenure, and housing, affordable housing was one of them. So it was easy to get him to understand the importance of bringing something like a employer expo just for the employees of the city of Atlanta. We coupled it with Atlanta public school system as well. So it is a yearly annual expo that we do just for the city of Atlanta employees, as well as Atlanta public school system employees. We have now upped it to this year, 2027. I think they're going to do 2 expos. We just finished the expo, our second expo, May 2nd. We had 900 employees attend. 900. Now, everybody was not ready. to purchase. Some were renting but wanted to go to other affordable renters. But can you imagine having a pipeline of 900 buyers that you can work with? Who else would you need to work with, right? This would be the only thing that you needed. But we were able to leverage Invest Atlanta down payment assistance of $20,000 as well as Atlanta Housing of $15,000. That gave them, those that were ready, like $35,000 in down payment assistance off the bat. It was really a good event. Of course, we're following and hopefully have some testimonials of some employees that have bought so that we can use those as testimonials to add to this case study. Next slide. We did the same thing for the CAREB sanitation. And actually this was a very, very good story for me because the CAREB sanitation reached out to our brokerage after they heard about our work at City of Atlanta. So we did not even have to approach the CAREB sanitation. They heard about what we were doing in the City of Atlanta and they reached out to our brokerage to do this thing for their employees. So we went in, we actually did a workshop, just my brokerage. We partnered with 2 lenders. We had 2 lenders on site that actually did on the spot pre-approvals right there while we were doing the expo. And we also partnered with a housing counselor. D&E Power Group was our counselor of choice. We created a down payment, but we created the CAREB sanitation cohort. So what we did was we wanted to make sure that we had a success story for those employees that may have been on the fence from attending the first one. We did an expo. We did like a home buyer workshop, but out of 115 employees, and we did 2 sessions. We did a morning session and an afternoon session. Here in DeKalb County, their off day is Friday. So we did it on a Friday where everybody was off. So imagine these employees are coming in on their off day of going and picking up trash and providing sanitation work for our county. They were so interested in coming into the expo on their off day. We had 2 sessions, 115 attendees. Out of those 115 attendees, that day we left with at least, I think Silverton had 22 that were pre-approved and Movement Mortgage may have had 11. So we are working with them on finding them housing in and around DeKalb County. Some of them didn't want to live in DeKalb County, but they were still viable home buyers that wanted to purchase homes because they were all renting. Some did not even know they could buy. That was what was disheartening because they had been renting for like 7 or 8 years and just did not know that they could buy. We were able to also reveal a DeKalb County DPA that had just come out as well. One of the administrators of down payment assistance for DeKalb County came to our brokerage as well, and we were talking. They said, Eboni, we've got this down payment assistance program, but we've not had an application for it in 6 months. And I was like, well, there's something wrong. Either y'all not getting the word out or is something wrong with the down payment assistance. So they were excited that we were able to present their down payment assistance that they had to the DeKalb sanitation workers. But we provided employee access. The employee opened the door, provided the space, time, employee communication. They were in charge of the registration. Our lender partner and our housing counselor partner brought in the snacks and lunch. They provided lunch, so that was their buy-in to even be included in this particular expo. We did education, and of course we did on-site pre-approvals. And there were some that are still in the pipeline. They're going through counseling, and we're following up with them to see, where they are so that we can get them ready to become homeowners as well. But this system, this expo created a pipeline of buyers that we're still working through 12 months afterwards. It'll be 12 months August because we did this expo August of last year. Next slide. You can pass this one. Yep. Where to look. Go to the next one. Next slide. Okay, yeah, where to look. The best employee assistant housing partners share two characteristics. I like to target employers with large numbers of working and middle class employees, because one of the things that is key also, not everybody needs down payment assistance, but they do still need housing. So we help all of the employees within those two particular employers that we were working with, and they are experiencing recruitment and retention challenges driven by housing costs. So as you look at who you can approach or who you know, and just a show of hands, how many people have kids school age and you're very active within the school system that your kids attend, or active enough or know faculty and staff that you can offer this type of service? Because it doesn't have to be a huge expo. It can be a couple of teachers and a lender and a housing counselor, and you can hold like a lunch and learn. So school districts are good. Hospitals and health systems are excellent. I like public agencies in cities. I like the municipalities because it's easy. I find it easier to match down payment assistance programs that are already in place, and we don't have to get creative of creating some type of grant or match with the employer. Universities and colleges, and nonprofit or large employees. Next slide. The 3 doors into an employer. Every employer conversations begins through one of 3 entry points. Identify which door is most relevant to your target employer and lead with that value proposition. You don't need all 3. You can use, it just takes one. Education. There's an example. I provide no-cost financial literacy and home buyer education sessions for your employees, and those costs to you or them. So when you talk about, because employers will want to know, well, what's in it? Well, not what's necessarily what's in it for them, but how much will it cost them to present this to their employees? And like I said, low-hanging fruit, their cost could simply be access for you to provide these lunch and learns for their employees, so that you can get a pipeline of buyers to home ownership. Door 2 would be your workforce retention. Long commutes and housing instability are costing your employees. I can help you build a housing benefit that keeps them there. That is maybe a second tier when you start creating housing benefits that will have, you need some input from the employer, sometimes a match on down payment assistance or rental subsidy. Door 3 is community impact. You're helping the employees become homeowners in the community that you serve and that they work in. And that's a powerful statement for commitment and investments. Next slide. So now here's where we start with our action item and our action steps for the week. Before we begin, any questions? Okay. So our first outreach script is here, and you will get this slide again with also the student guide and some templates that you can start. But what I want you to do is think about 3 employers in your market that have at least 50 employees or more. And I'm going to pause right here to see if I can get the hands of people who have identified at least one that you can reach out today and say, hey, okay. All right, your next step is going to be to research whether they have existing housing or financial wellness benefits, or would you need to create one? Personalize your outreach script for each employer's specific challenge. What has been really good in our efforts here in Atlanta is the retention to keep employees at working at the same job that they had due to their commute time. Now this week, we're going to send our first outreach message or request an introduction. So even if you don't know personally of someone who could open the door, but you have an idea of an employee that you think that this is a great fit for, put them on your action item list for this week. Also, begin thinking about your partners. Who will help you carry out, at least on a low entry level, your expos? Do you have lender partners that you think that this would be great? My 2 lender partners, I use Silverton Mortgage and Ameris Bank right now. And they are happy to do anything I ask them when we do an employee expo, because they get to close loans. They get firsthand access to people that work, so they have income. So they are happy to provide lunch. They are happy to provide. Some of them are even happy to sponsor if it's a upscale. If we want to do an upscale event. Think of who will be your counselor. I am an advocate for having a housing counselor for everybody that is going to purchase a home, because I think counselors can help create a bond with potential home buyers. That one, you get that pre-purchase counseling, but also you gain that community trust, that trust with that counselor. But they also have somebody that they can call on and go to after they close if they get in trouble with their post-closing counseling. So think about who would you want to partner with as a lender and a counselor. And if there are separate down payment assistance providers in your area, like an Invest Atlanta or a housing authority that provides a home purchasing down payment, think of those as part of your partner, part of your core partner list that you can go into these employers and just start with a workshop and see where that goes. So you currently already have everything you need to make your very first call. Show of hands, who is ready to do this week or next week? Okay. Got a few hands. Okay. All right. Next slide. And this might be the last slide, I think.
It's not moving.
Okay, I think it's the last one. So now I'll open it up for questions. Any questions anybody has? No questions? So I have a question for those that Carl, and I think it was Veronica, who have at least heard of those other programs that are in your area. Have you been interested in maybe trying to get in on some of those programs, or what have you done in the employee assisted housing realm?
Yeah, what I did is actually a while back in 2016 and 2018, I had pretty much the same type of program. It was called the Workplace Benefits Program. Okay. And we were working with a few school districts. So I'm glad you were able to jump on this call and go through all the details and refreshing my memory on it, because it's a great program. It's a great opportunity. And I think that persistence is important,
Yeah.
And, the follow-up, like they say, the fortune's in the follow-up.
It definitely is.
So I'm glad you were able to take the time out and have a beautiful presentation put together to be able to demonstrate this program. And that's something I think we should all try to implement.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming off and sharing your experience as well, too. And I see Go ahead.
Hi, it's Veronica. Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to piggyback. Yes, thank you for a great presentation. So my experience was a little different. I had kind of started with UC Davis.
Okay.
And I sold 2 houses to people transferring here from other states, relocating, and then was trying to get into their relocation department. And then COVID hit and things just changed. Hadn't gone back or looked at it since then, but you've just kind of given me the push to make that phone call and see where things stand. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you both for coming off mute and sharing your experience, because you actually honed in on exactly what I wanted to hone in on. It doesn't look the same. An employee assistant housing program does not have to look the same. It does not even have to be in the same industry. Right? It can look, you can customize it any way you want to customize it. You do need those core partners, a lender partner who, I've gone through a couple of lender partners because I want my lender partners, one, to be able to process loans and applications in a timely manner, just so I can get their financial snapshot on if they're approvable or not. And then once I get that financial snapshot, if they're not pre-approvable, I immediately put them in touch with a housing counselor so they can get the help that they need, whether it's raising their credit score, whether it's budgeting and getting them prepared for home ownership. But employer assistant housing has afforded me leads, and not to have to lead generate in various ways. It is and you're bringing a solution. So thank you for sharing, both Veronica and Carl. There was a question: are there teacher programs in the Inland Empire? Crystal, is that for me or anyone on the call that may know about teacher programs?
It's for anyone on the call who may know about the programs. But okay. Is that something that should be created if there isn't one?
There is. I'm in the Inland Empire. There's a program that Cal HAFA has for teachers where you can get 4% towards down payment and closing costs. I am aware of that one. I'm near UCR, which is UC Riverside, and Cal Baptist. I'm trying to think. Those are the closest ones to me. I know they have programs for housing. I don't know what those programs are, so I've made a note to look into it. So Crystal, if you want to link up with me, just let me know.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to also offer another down payment resource, and it's actually called Down Payment Resource. You can enter in addresses as well as areas, or even addresses to homes, to find out what the down payment assistance programs that are around that particular area are. And it is not just Atlanta based, it is nationwide. So you can use that resource to find out what down payment assistance programs already exist in your area, what down payment assistance programs are stackable, because stackable helps. That way you have some resources that you can provide to the employees when you go into these employers' offices. Any other questions?
Ebony, I can show, I don't know how many people here in California uses or is part of the California Regional, which is the CRMLS.
Okay.
You guys have that as a member benefit. It's a great opportunity, that meaning the down payment assistance. I was trying to log in, kind of show you what it is. It is a great tool for you all to go in and put in. I can show you guys in real time as soon as my computer comes up, how to utilize this particular.
It's attached to your it's attached to your MLS. It's attached to our MLS too, but you can also go on the website as well. So that is great to know.
I have a question.
No, go ahead.
I'm on the phone and I can't. I'm driving. Sorry, couldn't raise my hand. I missed the beginning. What's the interest rate that if they're giving 4%, how much do you pay back, and what's the interest rate?
Well, that's through CalHFA. So CalHFA, they have their way of doing the interest rates. You have to go to their website directly to see what it is. I'm not a lender. I do not quote interest rates. But if you go to the CalHFA website, they'll let you know daily what that looks like. So if you don't know that little trick, if you haven't worked with CalHFA before or not aware, you can go check that out. Yeah, and interest rates change daily, so I can't help you with that.
No, I'll go. I did one. I've done one CalHFA, and it worked really well. So, but I just didn't hear it. So no, that's interesting. I have a couple people that are really close, but what if they're close and the owner is willing to do a seller carry for the remainder of like $75,000? Do these loans allow a seller carry being second behind? Not that many people want to do that, but I mean,
is that possible? I think for this conversation, you're more getting into like the lending a little bit more in depth than where we're at right now. We're just kind of talking on the surface about that program, but you may want to ask the lender, are you able to stack your programs or stack when it comes to something like that? But it's a little different than I think where we're at in the conversation.
Yeah, if she just go ahead and go to rates.calhfa, and it'll give you the rates, and you can see exactly what today's rates are. So they have it posted right here. And then in regards to being able to stack that with a seller who wants to do a carryback, you don't see a lot of that taking place today, but it's not impossible. So each one of the down payment assistance will have some sort of guidelines if they would allow that or not. But that is an option you can take a look at.
And what I was gonna say is, thank you for the question. Even though I'm like, I don't talk finance, I don't quote interest rates or anything like that. But what it has prompted me to do is to understand any down payment assistance programs on how they work backwards and forwards. If I feel like that's a good down payment assistance program that will help get some of these employees into homes. So you want to make sure, even outside of maybe your lender DPA, if there are down payment assistance programs in your area that will help, make sure you know exactly what they do, exactly what the requirements are, so that you can be able to talk about down payment assistance and invite the providers who have these down payment assistance programs as a speaker at the expos that you have for your lunch and learns at these employer offices, because they want to deploy that money also. So getting them in front of potential customers to use their down payment assistance always goes over really well.